Hello and welcome to the Coming of Cage podcast, your Nicolas Cage TV show podcast. I am Derek, one of your regular hosts, and your other regular host, Ryan, is right here with you.
And with you.
And
And
with me.
yes, we are talking about Spider-Noir this week. We're wrapping up our thoughts on the 8 episode miniseries. And also we are not as sick as we were last week, although Derek says he isn't feeling great, but he sounds better than he did last week. So I think we may have a more successful episode this week. Who knows? I didn't think it was that bad last week. We hit it pretty well.
I think we did okay. Yeah, we muted ourselves at appropriate times and things, but yeah, so last week we've been doing some back-to-back episodes here because of Spider-Noir. So last week in episode 103, we covered episodes 1 through 4 of Spider-Noir, and today we will cover the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll talk about some of what happens earlier as well, but we didn't give a spoiler warning last week because we're not used to really reviewing a lot of super current stuff. But spoiler warnings for all of Spider Noir at this point. If it happened in those 8 episodes, if it potentially could happen in season 2, it is fair game for discussion tonight. So that's where we are. So you've been warned, and I vamped enough where you could have paused at this point and moved on. So if you don't want to listen about Spider Noir, however, we will be back with a normal episode in 2 weeks. What that is, you'll have to watch the Wheel o' Cage to find out because we're back to normal after this one.
That's right.
All right, that's our introduction. Ryan, take it away.
That's right. So we're kind of handling this the same way we handle the movies, but I think we're going to be more just in general talking about our thoughts too about the whole thing because this is, I mean, if you're listening to this, chances are you just watched the show, so you don't necessarily need the recap like you would for a movie that you haven't seen. So obscure Nicolas Cage movie from 1983 or whatever. So, yeah, yeah. So we're starting with what, episode 5? Let me skim through my notes here.
Yes, we are starting with
Six.
episode 5. For those who didn't catch the title, this one's called Betrayal.
Yes, and this episode I thought was probably one of the strongest episodes of the season. This is when we get the spider backstory. Basically, we find out this is not your grandpa's Peter Parker. This is a much grosser and more disturbing backstory for Peter Parker. Well, Ben
Hmm.
Riley in this case for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, we find out that in the war that all these POWs, we already kind of knew this, they were all experimented on,
And
and
just to be
that
clear, this is World War I,
World War I,
but yeah.
and that Ben Riley was sent in to rescue these POWs with a squad.
Right. And so what we know at this point, right, is that Lonnie and Flint and Addison were all POWs at this camp. And so Ben, right, Ben is part of the group that's rescuing them from this POW camp. It's pretty intense. There's some intense experimentation going on here. Lots of weird mutations
Yeah, mostly you just see like animals in jars and like those jars hooked up to people. It
with like
definitely kind of
tubes. Yeah.
yeah, it definitely sets like if they were going to do future seasons, it definitely sets up some potential other mutations that he could be dealing with. I could easily see the lizard, or
Hmm.
a lot of other Rhino, a lot of other Spider-Man villains are animal based. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Vulture, I mean, the list
No,
is
there was
never
no
ending.
giant cage in the room though, but you
Yeah,
know.
well, maybe it was in the room next door and they didn't show it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
what
no.
was in the room was like like full size half man, half spider.
Which had probably the show's only maybe shoddy CG.
That was a
Um,
full prosthetic.
the faces, the body
The
looked a
body
little
was
funky.
too. No, I saw behind the scenes video.
Was it? It looked the
Yes,
body
the whole
looked
thing was
funky. Maybe it's the
okay. Well,
black and white. I
the
don't
whole thing
know.
was a prosthetic. It looked like
Okay, okay. Maybe there was some post done on it. I don't know. The face looks incredible. Just to be very clear, the face is phenomenal. The man spider.
it's very creepy. And in case you guys don't know, this is especially hard for Derek because he does have arachnophobia. So this whole show is a
The
minefield for him.
I mean, the first half of the season's pretty fine. You know,
It's
there's
when it
that
starts
spider
getting
in
the
the
body
intro,
horror. Yeah.
but yeah, in the next episode,
Yeah, there's some stuff that's
uh,
pretty funky.
I had some moments that were hard for me, but I pushed through for Nick.
Yeah.
You know,
So the backstory of this Spider-Man is that he got bit by this half man, half spider. And the
right?
reason that we believe that he has his mutations show up sooner and it's not killing him is because it was somebody else that got the experiment, and then he got bit by that person, so that it was a less like it wasn't a lethal dose. It was the right mixture by some
Hmm.
odd chance. And so
Exactly. He's like Blade, the Daywalker, kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
We see the picture that he's had with all the POWs being taken, but he's off to the side like vomiting his guts out.
Right. Which is why he's not in it. Yep.
Yep, and
Yeah,
this is
because
this is
I was
when we
just,
get the
he gets like
confirmation
what
for it
what confirmation?
that he used movies to like relearn his
Oh,
humanity.
yeah, that was a great catch, man. I want to say for sure, like you picked up on that. I did not at the time. It makes perfect sense now in retrospect, but you picked that up. That was good.
I got lucky because I watched the interview where he said that the director or whatever said that he was trying to play it like a spider trapped in a human body.
Yeah,
So
which is
that
just, and you could see it. He does starts later now on the show. He starts doing these very kind of harsh limb movements, and some of it looks like Tai Chi maybe, and he's like trying to like control his body and these urges that he has as an arachnid.
right,
He
he's like
does it
trying to feel
so
out his human body.
It's so good. Nick really owns this character. The scene like he's sitting on the gurney bed, right, and his military boss. And I apologize, I don't know what rank the guy was, but he's in there. And Nick's like still doing like he's freaking out and he's jerking all over the place, and he's like trying to keep his composure and like he plays it so well. It looked so good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost like what's the that condition where you have to like yell stuff out? Tourette's. It's almost like a
Tourette's
Tourette's, like where he
a
has to
little bit.
like make these movements and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
compulsions.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so we cut back to the present, and Flint is trying to get Lonnie to join Silvermane,
Right.
and we find out that there's a doctor at the VA that activated the powers of these people.
Dr. Faber. Yeah.
Did some experiments and they specifically came here to work on these POWs
Hmm.
because they knew about them. Um, let's see. So Ben Riley finds out about this VA hospital. Actually, is it? Yeah, he found out because of the guys he. No, it was his friend that found out, right, and told
Yeah,
him.
Robbie.
Robbie,
Robbie finds out because Robbie's been trying to talk to Lonnie, and trying to kind of make a relationship there happen and everything. And so Robbie finds out about this.
right, and
Yeah.
tells
Hmm.
Ben, who goes to this VA hospital and is you know, he wants to get this information. Um,
It's interesting because like at this point, he's not like he's been out of the game for 5 years, and he clearly like is not in his top form as the spider. And so he's trying to like scale the side of a building, and he's like climbing in through a window, and he's clearly like not his best. But as we talked about in the last episode, he still has this very precision, like tactile use of his webs. So it's still in him. He
right.
just has to kind of work up to it. But it makes for a few funny moments.
It does, yeah, and throughout the rest of the series, it kind of does too.
Hmm.
So yeah, he let's see. We see the megawatt guy getting questioned by the police. He's in custody because of the spider defeating him. But
Yeah.
Silvermane breaks in with Flint and rescues Megawatt, and they break him out.
Yeah, yeah. There's some dark scenes in there, because he's more or less like no, this is the 20s or early 30s, that is, and he's getting kind of like almost tortured by this seeming, I guess he's a detective of some kind, and this I'm trying to find the actor's name. I'm having a hard time finding it here, but he is so good as Megawatt because I was talking to Ray about this, and like Megawatt could have been extremely unlikable as a character in this show. He's clearly a bad guy, but he could have been just like roll your eyes, I'm sick of you, get off the screen kind of bad guy. And I loved him. I thought he really commanded every shot that he was in. I loved the grandiose personality and the voice and attitude that he put on, and the electric effects, even in the black and white, just are so prevalent and they're so consistent over time. I just really loved this Megawatt character.
Hot take. I am the complete opposite.
Really?
I did not like his character. I found his voice to be grating. I thought that he was like he knew he was in a Nick Cage show and thought he was going to try and outact him, and just
Oh, I don't know.
yeah, I did not like his character. I was
Wow.
happy for his end, so that if there's season two, I don't have to watch him anymore. And now I think the
Wow.
character was made to be it. I see. That's why I'm surprised to hear this because I thought he was made to be unlikable, and that was the whole point of the character is that he's like a pure evil character, right? Like Skeletor.
Yes,
He's there's no redeeming quality about Skeletor. There's no redeeming quality about this guy. It's
I
just
agree.
he's evil for the sake of being evil. So you're not supposed to like him. And so in my opinion, I think we came to the same conclusion that he did fill the role that was required. I think we just had different opinions of what they were asking for. I think they were
Yeah,
asking
no.
for him to be a grating like asshole that is not enjoyable to watch, and you think that he was, doing exactly the opposite. So
But I do agree. He's arguably, because we could go into Silvermane a bit. He's arguably the only character who's like straight up only a bad guy to be a bad guy because he likes being a bad guy, and there's nothing redeeming about him. I think that's absolutely true. Because at least Silvermane, like he can schmooze when he wants to. He has a sense of humor even about himself. He's a very serious guy, but you can banter with him a bit, as Ben does. There's a line, right? But you can do it, and there is some loyalty. He does have some loyalty to people. If they're loyal to him, he will take care of them, kind of thing. Um, whereas as Megawatt, I keep wanting to call him Gigawatt, which is
me
a
too.
Darkwing Duck villain. But Megawatt doesn't have any of that. He has no friends, no family, no anybody. He's trying in the next episode, he's trying to defend, or the one after that is he's trying to defend, his fallen brothers or whatever from the military. But I think he's using it as an excuse to use his powers and show his power. I don't think he really cares.
Yeah, I
You
think he
know?
just wants the power.
Yes.
It is interesting too that with everybody else, we keep hearing that like using their powers will kill them, like
Yeah.
it's slowly killing him, and we kind of see the sand taking over Flint, but we don't really ever see the powers affecting Megawatt in a negative way, which I thought was a weird choice.
I mentioned that as well, Trey. We were talking a bit about it. I mean, his lightning bolts change a bit over the course of the show. He has more of them, and he has kind of some scarring from using his powers. I think kind of the difference is his power is power, and so he charges up. And I think you see the real effect of his, call it disease condition. You see the real effect of that when he runs out of juice. Whereas like with Lonnie, you don't really see Lonnie have any significant issues
True.
either. It's really just Flint
But
who
also,
is
Lonnie doesn't
degrading.
really use his powers. He just has his power. Like he's always strong and always
Yeah.
very durable. So it's not like it's a
Hmm.
choice for him to
That's a
activate
good
his
point.
powers.
That
So
is
I
a
don't
good
know.
distinction. Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, they break out Megawatt. Cat meets up with Ben, and they decide they're gonna leave town together.
Right. Right. Because she knows, right? Just as a recap, she knows he's the spider. Right. So now he doesn't have to keep that secret from her anymore. So he's lost Ruby. She's in the process of losing Flint. They're going to run off into the sunset. And that's how the
Right.
show ends.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I can't remember exactly how she finds out that there's a doctor looking or that can cure her lover if the doctor gets a hold of the spider.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So basically, she finds out that they've been looking for this guy who was there, who got bit, by one of the experimented on POWs, and they just could never find the guy and this is where we find out that his name isn't actually Ben Riley.
well, it's
Now,
actually in
I think we're.
episode 6. But
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh, I thought okay. I thought we learned that here. Sorry, that it's blending together a bit. But yeah, she knows that they don't know who this guy is, but she now knows. And if the doctor can come up with a cure, then she can save Flint,
yeah. So
who
at the
she
end
would
of the
really rather
episode,
be
she
with.
goes and meets up with the doctor and sells
Hmm.
out Ben.
As Kat does, you know.
Yeah. So
Um,
the we we
disappointing.
we start off the next episode with suitcase packing from Ben, who still thinks this is going to happen.
Hmm.
And there's a knock on the door from the doctor's assistant,
Right.
who's an old man.
Hmm.
And we find out that that old man,
Ogden, that's his name, Ogden.
Ogden, was a POW with Nick and with the other people, and that he's actually only 36 years old.
Yeah, his superpower is aging. Which I mean, if you're gonna die from having superpowers, that's got to be the worst one.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Did you think there was going to be a big reveal of what his powers were? Like my understanding was that he had powers, and when he used them, it caused him to age.
Oh, that's not how I interpreted it. I thought it was literally just whatever the mutation was forced him to age faster.
I kept waiting
So
for like them to show what his power actually was, and that was yeah, that he definitely got the short end of the stick on
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
clearly, like yeah, of all the powers to get, that's awful.
we find out, yeah, when he's talking to Ogden that his name is Ben Riley, but he changed that. And that's why none of these people know who he is or that he was with that POW group. And so then, we talked in the first 4 episodes about, like in the very beginning of the first one, about how this is a different Spider-Man Noir than what was in the Spider-Verse, but that's not necessarily true because his name could have been Peter Parker.
It could have been Peter Parker. That we do not rule that out. I think we're supposed to believe it's Peter Parker. I
Yeah.
think the
We
show is
just can't
certainly.
explicitly say that because of the contracts with Sony and Marvel.
So I actually don't know that it's because of Marvel. I saw something that was talking about how it's actually more of a Sony rule for the Spider-Man character in live action
For Peter
that like
Parker.
yeah, but he can't like be portrayed smoking, he can't be portrayed being tortured, things like that which happen.
Drinking, yeah.
Yeah, right, in this. So I'm not sure if Marvel is part of the reason or not. Um but yes, I think we're supposed to be led to believe that his original name was Peter Parker, and that he changed it to Ben Riley. I don't know that even if that's true, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the same version of the
No,
character.
it
There's lots
doesn't,
of
but
Peter
it
Parkers.
could be, especially
Could
because
be.
right in the first episode we find out that he knows there's a multiverse.
Yeah, but I think the way that line is written is someone came to his universe and told him that
Potentially.
versus versus the one that we know from the animated film went to another universe and knows all of that. So it doesn't mean it's impossible, but I think we're supposed to think it's a variant,
Right. But either way, it
you know.
doesn't really affect the show at all. It's just something
No.
to think
No.
about.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it would have
So
been cool to just see, like, as he was packing, like, maybe see the Rubik's Cube.
yeah, that would have been interesting.
Would have been cool,
Um,
but
we find out Ogden could be saved by the spider and that he knows that Ben is the spider. And he says, "No, I can't help you. I can't help you. I can't help you." And so Ogden ends up stabbing him in the hand with a syringe, which is
mhm.
apparently in the show how you give drugs. You just stab people in random places, and it works.
It's the 30s, man. What do you want him to do?
Yeah. I was watching this with my partner, who is not a doctor by any means, but used to be a veterinary technician and knows a little bit about, giving, syringed medication to people. And she
Injections?
every time or to animals, yeah. And every time somebody did that with a syringe, which happens quite a bit in these last 4 episodes, she just like rolled her eyes and shook her head. So
I mean, here's the thing. I agree if it was set in modern times, it would be ridiculous. Maybe that is how they did it in the 30s. I have no idea.
I don't know either. Organic Web's flashback. I think we get another flashback when he first discovers that he has organic webs,
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so
where it's
gross.
like
It's
he's
so
pulling it
gross.
out. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's so gross. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was great. It was way better than the Tobey Maguire introduction to the organic webs. It was
Oh,
much more visceral.
so disgusting. Oh man. I don't know, like I don't know if it's because of my arachnophobia that made it even worse. I'm not sure, but it was pretty gross.
I don't
And
think,
you know, these
I
webs are
mean,
black
maybe.
instead of white, you know, so that like it makes it even look a little bit creepier in this case. And
I think it's just kind of a general body horror thing. I don't
is it?
necessarily, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was gross, but
Okay.
is webbing something that like are spider webs a thing that grosses you out, or is it spiders?
It's the fact that that means there's a spider likely nearby, right? So if I walk through a web, that's a bad time for me.
You enter another plane of existence for a short time where you're surrounded by spiders, much like
It's
some
not
of
a
the
good time.
flashbacks that we see.
Oh my
Um,
God. Some of his hallucinations later. Oh my God.
so yeah, we find out. So they've kidnapped Ben Riley and they have him strapped to a gurney.
Hmm.
And we find out that Faber lost her son. Well, she didn't really lose her son. You know, it's she mentions that, but it turns out that Ogden is her son.
Right. That's the big reveal.
Yeah. And then the I like ravioli line. You remember that?
I do.
He's
Yeah.
trying to say something
Yeah.
else and it just comes out I like ravioli and she's like, "We're going to get you plenty of ravioli, don't you worry."
Which she never does, by the way.
True. He
She
escapes
never
before,
does.
but well, yeah. So they take his blood, and that's not enough. She couldn't find anything weird in his blood, so then they have to go do like major surgery and take tissue samples from his organs, and there she finds the answer.
Yeah, so
But
this
as
that
he's
she is a doctor, she is a surgeon, so it's not like she doesn't know what she's doing, right? But she is operating on someone without their consent who is not on the verge of dying.
right,
So,
um, and this is once he goes under for this surgery is when we start getting the spider hallucinations. The one that was the freakiest in my opinion was the when they put the mask on his face and it slowly transformed into a spider on his face. That was the
yeah, that was
freakiest one
bad.
for me. But it was also cool when they cut open the side of his body and the spiders just pour out. I thought that was
That
pretty
was the one
neat.
that was the one for me.
That got
Because
you?
the one on the face, like that one's a little more fantastical,
Sure, but it
right? But
still
the
would be
idea
terrifying.
absolutely. But my brain, like the way my arachnophobia works is I can kind of like I can bridge reality a bit, you know? And so just
Right.
because something is spider-esque doesn't necessarily mean it'll freak me out if I, you know, intellectually know it. But when they do the cut and they come pouring out, like that's just a lot of real little spiders pouring out, you know? And so like I've seen the movie Arachnophobia. If you've never seen that movie with Jeff Bridges, it's horrifying if you have any spider problem. I didn't have arachnophobia when I watched it. That came later in my life, but it's another day.
So was that the worst part of this series for you, spider
I
wise?
think
Like,
so.
yeah.
I think so.
When I
Yeah.
was watching it, I was like, "Oh, Derek does not like this."
No, it was pretty tough. That one was tough for me to watch. I definitely think the slice open, obviously the face mask was creepy. The pulling of the webbing out of his hand of his arm that was creepy, you know. But yeah, this was a little run here that was like tough. Yeah, maybe
So
seeing it in black and white helped
yeah, in
because that
color it might
makes
be
it
actually be
feel
worse.
it might be worse. Yeah,
So while he's under, she synthesizes a cure and gives it to her son, and yeah, he ages back down to like 32 or whatever his age was, and looks normal.
it
Eh,
happens really fast, which I know like convenient for storytelling because like they can't have it take weeks. That wouldn't make a lot of good storytelling. But like you would think that would be extremely hard on the body.
you would think, but it's a mutated body anyway. Well, not anymore, but
Well,
yeah.
but like Ogden, it takes a minute. They do some camera spins and stuff, and then he's aged down and he's perfectly fine. But like Lonnie, it hurt. It
Well,
hurt
but he
Lonnie.
also got stabbed in the eye.
He did get stabbed in the eye, and he was fine like immediately after.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I don't know. I just feel like that's a physical transformation that's gotta not feel good.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
my
so
little gripe.
she starts hinting to her son that he can't leave, that Ben can't leave, and that
Right,
they're
because
gonna
this whole
have to
time
kill
Ogden's
Ben.
convinced that they're gonna let Ben go. Ogden's not here to
He's
kill or
very
hurt Ben.
naive, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but he decides that he's gonna be the. He tells his mom he's gonna take care of it,
Right.
And so instead of killing him, he tries to escape him from get him, out of the compound. Um,
And because we learned that Ogden, he's not really a bad person. He really was just trying to get this cure that he thought wasn't going to be a big deal. He wasn't trying to sacrifice Ben, and so this is his redemption.
yeah. And so we get this scene with Nick. I don't know if it stood out to you at all, where he's like, it's a long hallway, and
Hmm.
it's a camera tracking shot in front of Nick, and he's just had surgery. He's kind of out of it, and he's trying to get out of this place. Uh, but he is just walking down this long hallway, but he is all over the place.
Hmm.
Because, and in my mind, and it's like a minute and a half or 2 minutes. I mean, it's not like a quick shot, and it's continuous. And so in my mind, I was just trying to figure out what the direction was. Like, what did the director say? Okay, Nick, this is what I want from you in the scene, and the cameraman, what do I want from you in the scene? I can only imagine this is the way it happened in my mind that the director said to the cameraman, "Okay, just stay 3 feet away from Nick and follow him no matter what he does." And said to Nick, "Nick, this is what's happening. You got it." And then just let
Just
Nick
go.
do his thing, and it was so good. He's
Yeah,
like bouncing
yeah.
off the walls and just like stumbling all over the place, and it seems like something that would be simple to do, but for an extended shot like that, and with the camera
Hmm.
so close to you, I mean, he just really sells it. That was one of my favorite shots of the whole show, and it was such a simple shot. He wasn't Spider-Man. He wasn't. It was just his purely his acting, and it was just
Hmm.
a really fun shot.
Well, because I think he had to really know in his head what he was trying to accomplish. He had that planned out, right? This is something he thought through. He saw it in the script, and he was like, "This is what he had it in his head," and then he was able to recreate it. Because there's no way that was a first take one and done kind
No,
of
I'm sure
thing,
they did
right?
several similar takes.
Yeah, and so he had to do something kind of similar each time for the camera to be able to follow him well. And I mean, it really goes to show you like he's trying to do two things here, right? He's trying to limp along because he just had like this major surgery and probably wasn't treated appropriately for it because he wasn't supposed to survive anyway.
And
And
he's
then he
coming off the
also
drugs.
is coming off the drugs, and he also has these arachnid tendencies that he hasn't been able to get out. We've learned that he has to be able to get those out at some point.
Yeah,
Wasn't able to do that, so now he's got those popping through at the same time. Doesn't have the same constitution he normally would to suppress them anyway. So there's just a lot happening
right.
in this scene, and he's trying to escape too because Dr. Faber could be right behind him any second. Who knows, right? So like it's just there's so much happening in this that I mean, it's a really wonderful performance. But that's where most of this lies is like, yeah, there's some wonderful effects, there's some great set pieces, but at the end of the day, it's the individual performances that really make this show.
In this show, I'm convinced this show would not have worked with anybody other than Nicolas Cage. I can't think of a single actor that would have put as much attention to detail into what they're doing as Nicolas Cage did. It's just simple.
No,
Not that. No, I'm not saying he's the best actor of all time. I'm not saying like nobody could have done an acceptable job. But I don't think the show would be reviewed the way it is. I don't think it would have been as good as it is without Nick.
I
They just had the
completely
right
agree with you
guy.
though. Because there's so many layers to all of this. His inspirations from like Bogart and Cagney and just this era of film in general, the love that Nick has for cinema and noir specifically. Like
It
those
hits
things are
all
really
his sweet
important.
spots.
Hits all of his sweet spots, including all of the comic book stuff. He's a
Right.
huge comic book nerd. His name Cage comes from the Luke Cage Marvel character. That's where he got the Cage name from. Like he is a superhero comic book guy. So this is the perfect storm of everything he possibly could want in a production. Other than he
Right.
was a little nervous to do television because he hadn't done that before. But other than that, this was like everything he ever wanted in a role. Yeah, I mean, there there are actors who would have done a good job, but none of them. I don't know that anybody else could have done a special job.
Right.
And I think
People wouldn't be
that's
talking about it like this.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So one thing I did like about this show is that, everybody knows that Spider-Man is super strong. Like
Hmm.
in every version we've seen, Miles Morales, Peter Parker, he's beyond human strength by quite a bit.
Yes.
But in the series, up to this point, we haven't really seen that he's that strong, other than strength and durability, I
Right. He can
guess.
take a hit. Yeah.
Right. Um, but like in this episode, we start to see that strength coming back, I guess, is kind of the way I would phrase it. Because at one
Hmm.
point, he's webbed himself up to the ceiling of an elevator and he's holding Ogden,
Hmm.
who's a full-sized man, maybe short, short man, but still a full-sized man at the top of this elevator and not really struggling.
Hmm.
So we get that. So basically, Silvermane and the goons are coming in to get the doctor
Right.
and to find out if there's other superpowered people, because Silvermane wants to recruit them, as Nick and Ogden are trying to leave. But then
Because
when Ogden,
Silvermane doesn't know that like Flint and Lonnie and Megawatt, he doesn't know they're dying. Right.
yeah,
He just thinks these are super powered people and I need more of them.
right, and so they pass each other because Nick and Ogden are hiding in the ceiling. But then they hear them talking about killing Dr. Faber, and so Ogden decides he needs to go back in and save his mom.
Hmm. Which I mean,
Um,
yeah, I get it. You know.
yeah, and Nick goes, I think, back in, and he is able to retrieve the antidote, what's left of it,
Hmm.
but the whole lab gets exploded. Presumably,
Well,
Faber and Ogden die.
he also goes back
Silvermane
for his suit.
and for his suit, yeah, but well, yeah,
Yeah.
he goes back for his suit, but then he sees the antidote on the table and grabs it and skedaddles.
But the big reveal in this bit is Silvermane Faber shows Silvermane like her laboratory, and it's very like Alien Resurrection. If anyone's ever seen Alien Resurrection, there's like all of these failed experiments in these like cryotube type things, but 1930s technology. People partially half mutated into insects and other creatures, and they're all dead.
Yeah,
And obviously, this upsets our other superhero baddies, and it starts a fire, and it goes from there.
yeah, and the whole lab blows up.
Hmm.
And all this happens because Robbie wrote about this lab and like publicly said where it was and everything. So Silvermane finds out about it.
Right, right, because
And that's
Robbie's
the
still
end of
trying
the
to get his
lab.
job back and all that.
Right. So episode 7 starts with Kat asking about the lab because she knew that Ben Riley was there because she ratted
And no
him
one's seen
out
him.
and nobody's
Yeah,
seen him.
yeah.
And so Silvermane is trying to cause problems for the mayor and also I think
Hmm.
lure out the spider. So he sends his cronies out to go like cause mischief and like steal money from the mayor and do stuff like that. So we get uh we get a big scene of the cronies robbing this, I don't know what this place was, but they had a ton of money.
It was supposed to be a campaign office. Now, in modern times, I don't think you would have that set up, but maybe in the 30s, that's just what you did. You just had your cash in your campaign office. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a great idea to me, but I think the problem here is that everyone here is dirty, right? Like Silvermane's a bad guy, but you know what? Mayor Morris is also a bad guy. They both are trying to buy off the cops. They're both trying to, screw over other people and take over the town. They're just doing it in different ways. So Mayor Morris isn't a good guy either. And so I think the money is dirty money. I don't think it's clean money you'd put in the bank.
Yeah, that is probably accurate. Um, so while this is going on, Ben Riley is in a bar drinking away his sorrows, I guess, and
Hmm.
a bunch of kids come in and start talking shit about the spider.
Like you do.
Yeah. Because I guess the goons had just gone out into the street and like thrown the money in the air and said vote for whatever that mayor's name is that they wanted to vote for.
It's exactly what they did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Hmm.
these guys come in with all this money and then they're talking shit about the spider. And Ben is like, well, what if he's just a guy that's trying really hard? And
They
like,
all laugh at
yeah,
him.
they all laugh at him and making fun of him because he stands up for the spider.
Hmm.
And so he leaves, and he is wearing the exact same outfit that he was wearing when he left, except now with the spider mask, and goes back in.
So he's very drunk, and because this is prohibition and stuff, it's literally an underground bar. So he has to go, up some stairs, and he puts the mask on and he goes to go back down. He's clearly really drunk, and Ray leans to me and she goes, "If he throws up inside the mask, I'm out."
They weren't gonna do that. That's a little too like vile for what they were
I
going
don't know.
for.
At this point in the show, I didn't know. I didn't
There's a
know.
difference between body horror and just being gross for gross's sake. You know what
I
I
mean, he was
mean?
pretty drunk. He was pretty drunk.
Yeah, I just don't think that's what the show is going for. But that would have been
Well, they
gross,
they
yeah.
didn't they didn't do it, obviously.
Um, but we get this really cool action scene set to Sway by Rosemary Clooney, which is a classic kind of that era of song. Um, it's a really, if you haven't listened to that song on its own away from the fight scene, you should listen to it. It's a really great song, but it was a really fun. I love it. If people have listened to the podcast that I've done with this show with Screen Heroes, you know that I'm a big action guy. Like I love a good fight scene. And one of my
Yes.
favorite tropes with fight scenes is when there's a song involved that we wouldn't necessarily
Mm.
think about a fight scene too, because it kind of in general makes the fight choreographer think differently about the way they're incorporating that. Um, and usually it's pretty great. And so the big one that pops to mind is Kingsman when they did Freebird with the big
Yeah.
church scene. I go back and I rewatch.
Yeah.
I haven't rewatched the movie. I don't think, maybe more than once or twice, but that scene I'll go and rewatch once or twice a year just because it's one of my favorite action scenes. And
Mm.
this is probably going to go on a similar list because I just think it's a really fun action scene. It's the spider drunk, but he's still very adept. Um,
Well, and to your point, we start seeing some of the strength here too, because like he hits a guy
yes,
and he flies across the bar and smashes into stuff. And he is really drunk, so it's not like he's at his top form in this fight either. And he's holding his own, he's knocking these guys around and all
and
these
he
things,
takes
but
hits like
he
from baseball
does.
bats and stuff like that. I mean, he takes some pretty big hits, but it's just a
Hmm.
really fun scene. And so I was really happy to see that they had, you know, all these superhero movies have really fun action scenes a lot of the time, but having something like this that was kind of anti-type is really
Yes.
fun.
Hmm.
So shout out to the fight choreographers and the people there. That was really fun. Good job. Um, we to get this is also a really fun scene when they finally get the spider or get Ben back to his office and they're talking, they like recap a bunch of stuff that has happened, and he's like, because I'm the spider, oopsie poopsie. And then she's like, is that supposed to be some big reveal? And it cuts to like this montage
It's
of
so
all
good.
these times where he's doing this ridiculous shit. Like he's hanging on the ceiling at one point, drinking an alcoholic drink of some kind. It says like I'm spidering here or something like that. Like might as well have said it's spider in time.
Yeah,
And
right,
like,
right, yeah.
or like he just has the goggles on and like
He's
is
he's sitting
perched up on his,
cross-legged on top of his desk
yeah,
with
and
the
like
typewriter.
the spider pose kind of going on. Yeah,
But he was in there in the dark, and she like turns the light on. He's
yeah.
just sitting there.
And then she turns the
Oh
light
my
back
God.
off, and he turns the like lights on his goggles on. But yeah, it's just
So great.
what a fun scene, and stuff like that that made the show I think really special because you could just tell they
Yeah.
put a lot of care into everything. I'm a really big fan of this show. Beyond being a Nick Cage fan, like this is just a really fun superhero show that's again against type. It's not something you would expect to see. Um, but yeah,
No, it's really wonderful. I do think the montage also helps explain the Janet character and why she stuck around for so long and why she was
right,
willing to put up with his BS because she knew who he really was and she was hoping that that guy would be back, you
right. She
know.
wants him to come back. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we find out that or we see that Kat finds out now that Flint saw her and um Ben like
Yeah.
by themselves in this theater that she only takes like special people to, where she had like her first performance or whatever. And he's really pissed about that, but he's not going to reveal her secret or anything like that, that she's the rat. But he's mad about it.
Well, because again, to your earlier point, Flint's not a good guy necessarily, but he's not evil.
No, but he's pretty
You
gray.
know,
Yeah, he's pretty gray in terms of, which
yeah,
is fine because the Sandman character,
usually,
especially in movies and
yeah,
television, has been pretty gray.
right.
You know,
So and
in the Raimi movies, he was just like trying to help his sick daughter.
hmm
You know,
exactly.
so
And so
so
here, like
that's
he loves Cat. He has no interest in getting Ben killed. Just kind of, don't put him in a situation where he has no choice.
right.
Just yeah.
So we get the line with no power comes no responsibility,
hmm
which is in this case meant to be literal. Like if he didn't have his spider powers, then he wouldn't have the
Right.
responsibility to save people. Because they did
Well, that's
show
what I.
that line in one of the trailers, and I was like, this does not make any sense at all. I think I said that in one of the earlier episodes. Like this line makes no sense, but when you presented with the antidote storyline, then it starts to make more sense.
Well, because at the beginning when he's explaining, the death of Ruby and all of that, he does say that line with no power comes no
And at that point, it
responsibility, and
doesn't really make any sense.
it felt kind of like okay, but you do have those powers, so
Right.
you're
So
kind of
you have
just
that responsibility.
yeah, you're just kind of shrugging off the responsibility, and I think that's the whole point, though, is for 5 years, that's what he's been doing. He's been hiding, he's been wallowing, right, and things like that. And I'm not saying without reason, like he lost
Sure.
someone he loved, he blames himself, right, and so this is the first time where it's real. I have an opportunity to not be the spider anymore, and he's thinking about taking it. He is, and maybe he is hesitant. Like Robbie even points out at one point, it's like, look, even in your drunken state, if you really thought it was a good idea, you would have done it by now.
Right, exactly. Which was
You
yeah,
know.
a great moment. But then we see him loading up syringes with the antidote.
hmm
And his plan is to cure Lonnie and Megawatt and Flint and then himself once he's
Right.
got that all taken care
That is the plan.
of. So we get the big fight with so Robbie goes in to try and talk to Lonnie first, and that doesn't go well. So then the spider comes in and gets into this big fight with Lonnie,
You
which
do when
seems
he
to
comes
be
in though, like that's like the most agile we've seen him so
yeah, it
far.
was great. It was great. Him using like
Really
his
cool.
webs to project himself in there and get some damage. But this seems like it's like a day after his that surgery. Like so, and I know Spider-Man heals fast, but that's like Wolverine fast.
Oh,
But
but
he's
he's
still
not
hurting
he's
from
not
it.
healed though. That's the thing. Like the whole point I think is that he's not really ready,
It's like
right?
Punisher. Like you know when you start the Punisher series, any of the Punisher series, that's the most healthy he is throughout the series because
Right.
he gets his ass kicked progressively worse and worse throughout the entire series. And by the end, he's like a walking sack of flesh and
And
barely
that's what
able to eat.
happens. And that's what
Essentially,
happens.
yeah.
There's almost a full episode where he just doesn't have his powers.
Yeah.
After this fight, there's a solid day where he's got no powers,
Right.
and it's really interesting how that's all handled. I thought this was a really cool fight scene, though.
It was.
When he goes and jabs the syringe and it bends. I love that. That was
Well,
great.
yeah, and you had to be thinking about that. Like, why didn't this guy think about that? I don't know. But yeah, that was cool. But then ends up being Robbie that gets the syringe in there, pops it in his eye, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes, in his eye. Yeah, like
Yeah.
man, Lamorne is so good in this show, man.
He
I
really
love
is. And
Robbie.
even in the last episode, I mean, he's amazing. But
He's
yeah,
so fantastic. I'm so
this is
happy
my
for Lamorne.
introduction for him. I've not watched New Girl, although I've been tempted because there's some actors that I really like in it. So maybe I'll watch it after this. But um,
The reason I'm so happy, I love New Girl. I think New Girl is a ridiculously fun show. But most of that cast have kind of just done characters that are really similar to their New Girl characters. There's a lot of overlap between characters they did after and those characters. So to see Lamorne get to do this character, do Robbie, who is so varied and gets so many opportunities to do different things in this, whether it's being the journalist, whether it's being a physical hero, whether it's taking big shots and like all these different things, it really let him show what he's capable of as an actor. And you don't always get that shot when you've been in a show. Like it actually is kind of the pinnacle of what Nick was worried about. Nick never wanted to do television because he didn't want to get typecast.
right.
And this was, in my opinion, Lamorne's shot to show that he can be more than the Winston character on New Girl. And boy, did he freaking do it.
Yeah, he killed it.
He's so good.
But yeah, so Robbie gets the eye stab,
What a
which
great. Oh,
Law, and then we get the Lonnie like in all this pain, but then he's normal again, and his eye is fully healed, which I thought was a little weird.
don't worry about
Yeah, don't worry about it.
it.
Oh, there's another moment like that in episode 8, but yeah, and Lonnie is exceedingly grateful,
Yes.
which I thought was great because he never seemed like an evil character. He seemed like he was doing what his circumstances. He's less evil even than Flint. Like
Yeah.
he's the most good of those three. He was just
hmm
doing what he thought his circumstances put him into, and he didn't have a choice.
Well, and he thought he was dying, and he was just trying to get what he could before he died, and because earlier on he was being very protective of the Addisons, and things like that. Like he was a good person who was in a bad situation.
Yeah, and so now he got a choice again, and
hmm
so that was good to see. But then it ends the episode by having the mayor now and Silvermane both looking for the spider.
Which is so, yeah, they both want bring me Ben Riley is such and they both
Or
say it at the
they're
same time.
looking, yeah, they want Ben Riley, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
looking for they want him to find the spider for
It
them.
was just one of the things that this show does that is really special for me is it is shot very much the way they used to shoot stuff. There are a lot of old techniques used in shooting this that are fantastic. Like the scene in this episode where Kat and Flint are talking and she learns that he knows and all that. There's this shot where we see Flint, he's looking at us, and she's sitting with her back to us, and we can
It
see
was
her
seeing her in a
face in the
mirror.
mirror, right?
Yeah,
Nobody shoots that way anymore. But
no,
that
that's
was
a
a very
classic
calm.
noir shot. Yeah,
It's such a good shot. And there's one even earlier on when Kat goes to Janet and they're in Ben Riley's office and Janet walks to go get a drink and there's a glass sitting on the cabinet and you can see Kat through the glass. Like these are these classic old Hollywood shots that were done a lot of the times out of necessity, right? The cat shot from with Flint is, well, you don't need two cameras if you shoot that way, and stuff like that. Like I love the techniques that were used to
yeah,
show
the
this. And so then
attention
at
to
the end,
detail.
the attention to detail is phenomenal. And so this split screen shot at the end, they're both saying, "Bring me Ben Riley" at the exact same time. It feels like it was made back then. It doesn't feel like they made it last year.
Right.
And I love it.
Yeah, so episode 8 starts with Janet. Well, it starts with some stuff that actually is very inconsequential, I think. There's like a Silvermane and Cat thing where they talk to each other, and there's like some other like random conversations, but really the episode uh early on it get Cat and Janet meeting up,
hmm
and Janet slaps the shit out of Cat twice.
It's great.
Once for
It's
Ben and once for her, which was great. And yeah, Kat says she deserves it, but she says, if you can find it to trust me, then I can stab these guys with the antidote, and they won't even suspect me, and then you won't have to do anything." Which
hmm
Janet is like, "No, we're never going to trust you, but I'll tell Ben." And so she finds Ben, who is with uh
at Robbie's place.
Robbie's
Yep.
house, yeah. Um, and uh before she leaves to go get Ben, she goes back to the office, and the kid, who's great also, is in the office, and he says, like, people been trying to get a hold of you. Where you been? And then the phone rings, and it's the chief of police calling Janet.
It's not the chief of police, it's her buddy down at the precinct. It's like
Oh,
he's a
is it?
cop, but he's
Oh,
not the
okay. It
chief.
was some police officer. I thought it was the
Yeah.
chief, but
It's the
yeah,
guy she brought the sandwiches for.
that's right. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
an elder cop.
Right.
But he is calling to warn that everybody's looking for Ben Riley. All the police are looking for him, and that the mayor wants to see him.
hmm
And so uh, Flint and Megawatt show up at Robbie's house. They're
Tense scene.
following Janet,
Right.
and so
There was a little bit right before they show up at Robbie's that kind of bothered me. So so Dirk is Megawatt. So Dirk and Flint are in the back seat of this car, and in the front are the two like henchmen goon guys that we've seen throughout the whole show, right? And so the four of them are in the car together, and Megawatt is talking to Flint about how because of their powers, he shouldn't answer to Silverman.
Yeah.
If you're one of those henchmen, you're not gonna.
So it's weird. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, I get it. Um, don't worry about it.
All right, all right.
Um, so yeah, they show up at Robbie's house and they're like Silvermane wants to talk to you. And so Robbie tries to sneak the antidotes into his jacket, but then they don't let him grab his jacket.
Right, of
And so
course.
he's just kind of winging it at this point. But he gets there, and there's this really great scene between Nick Cage and Silvermane where he's like,
Yeah.
I want you to call the spider right now. And he's like, I don't think I will. And it's like, he's like, is this comedy? Are you like messing with me? And he's like talking about how the spider is kind of annoying and like isn't he's hard to talk to on the phone because of his mask.
You can't understand a word he says.
Yeah, it's so funny. And
I mean, well,
it's
I love that there's a couple of there's like three scenes in the movie where Brendan Gleeson and Nick
show.
get to bounce off of each other, and it's so good. They're so good together, the two of them, and Silvermane's got all the cards in reality. He doesn't necessarily know it at the moment, right? But Ben's got no powers right now. He doesn't have the antidote with him right now, and here he is surrounded. He's got two superpowered dudes, but Silvermane's probably also got a gun, like he's in a
Right.
tough spot, but he's got that mouth on him, right? And Silvermane's like, I told you before, that mouth could get you killed someday. Today might be that day.
Yeah. And so he's trying to negotiate for more money. And
Right, right.
as a viewer, you're like, well, what's he gonna do? And he's got to actually call this guy. But of course, he calls Robbie. And
So
so we
good.
get Robbie doing this Nick Cage impression that's hilarious. And he's
Well,
actually decent at it.
he
It's a little like Richard Nixon-y, but he
well, because
does a good job.
he's not doing a Nicolas Cage impression. He's doing a Ben Riley impression,
I know.
and
It's not
but
that big of a distinction.
I think it's so good
It
because
is
his
very
Ben
good.
Riley is such like, he's never really done a role where he talks like Ben Riley, Nick, that is, like he does. He's got a more gravelly voice and he's talking more like Humphrey Bogart, and things like that. And I don't know. I just thought Lamorne crushed it, you know.
Yeah, he did a good job. But after he hands Silvermane the phone, and so yeah, that's when Robbie is doing this impression.
So good.
And so they hang up, and he's like, "Well, he's on his way." But then,
I do
that
love though, like when Nick still has the phone and Silvermane's like telling him what to say. It's
that
just
was
like
hilarious.
it's so funny. It's so
He's
because
like,
it's kind of like
tell them let bygones be bygones." Yeah,
right.
it was so
It's like
funny.
the most kind of like jovial or light Silvermane is in like the whole
You
season.
can
It
tell
was
like
so
he
good.
seems to have a lot of respect for the spider. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole time that Ben Riley's been there, Megawatt is like, I recognize you from somewhere. And as an audience member, you think he's talking about the fight with him earlier. They recognizes the voice, but it's not. He recognizes him from the POW camp.
Hmm.
And so when that comes out, now Silvermane, who's not an idiot by any means, starts to piece together everything. And so to try and get Ben Riley to reveal that he's the spider, he pulls a gun and is getting ready to shoot Cat.
With
But
her own gun, actually, he tells her to give him the gun that she carries. She thinks no one knows about.
yeah, but he knows about it. It's just again shows
Uh-huh.
that he's a smarter character. He's a very street smart character.
Oh yeah.
High wisdom score.
Well, he
But
doesn't show all his cards.
yeah,
He
exactly.
respect like you talk about the spider. Like he respects his adversaries. He doesn't underestimate those that he is up against, right? And he's not gonna underestimate the spider just because they're on opposite sides, right? And so yeah, he is a very keen guy.
We didn't mention, but during the fight with Tombstone, he runs out of web. Like his webs stop working,
Hmm.
and so during this scene, once Silvermane pulls the gun on Cat, he's like trying to whip, but he can't. He's like keeps throwing his wrist, and nobody notices. It's just
Well,
hilarious.
Silvermane kind of glances at him a couple of times.
Yeah, but then right when he's getting ready to shoot Cat, in strolls Robbie dressed as Spider-Noir, which was
It's
so good.
so
And you
good.
can tell his like body language is a little different, and
Yeah.
that's done on purpose because we as the viewer know this is the Spider-Noir, but they don't necessarily know that, and he's doing his best like Ben Riley impression, and it's hilarious because maybe Derek can relate to this, but like when we're cosplayers, we met through cosplay, and when you're wearing a costume of a hero that you really respect or like have a lot of admiration for, you tend to feel like pretty powerful, especially for me when it's like a full masked character, and you can really feel like people don't know it's
Who
Ryan,
you
that is
are.
just like this
Yeah.
weak ass guy from Kansas City. I'm this actual guy. And he kind of gets into it a little bit too much. He's like, "What are you talking about? I already whipped this guy's ass once, and I'll whip both of your asses." And like, he's really getting into it, and it's just funny because I could relate to that feeling of like you get that confidence.
Well,
And
I love it. Just shows the courage that Robbie has, because yeah, he's a journalist, and it takes a lot of courage to do some of the things he's done earlier on. But he's not shown to really be like in peril much. And this is like him stepping into the ring,
yeah, he knows that he could get fucked up.
and he does it with like his full chest. It's really just a wonderful scene.
Yeah, yeah, he was standing on business for sure. Um, so the spider shows up and they're having their little thing, which is great. But then the thugs walk in because they found Janet outside wandering around, and she has the antidote, which they grabbed. And so Megawatt goes over, grabs the antidote, grabs one of the syringes, and stabs Robbie with it, and then
Right.
immediately shocks the shit out of him, which sends him flying. And he's like, "Well, looks like it works."
Hmm.
Um, and so we get kind of the finally the webs start working again, and we get a big fight between the guys at this bar. There's like a big shootout. It's pretty cool. Um,
A lot of tactical webbing, like getting the guns and stuff like that, which I just really like I like how his web abilities were portrayed in this show.
yeah, agreed.
You know.
But eventually, one of them gets the big hit on him and knocks him flying out the window
Hmm.
into the street. And meanwhile, Silvermane is running away like deeper into the building, and Cat is
Cat's
following
going after
him.
him. Yeah.
So then we're cutting between like these two fights where we have the spider getting his ass kicked by these two guys, and then we have Cat chasing Silvermane, and they go to like this room where Silvermane apparently has a bunch of like treasures, like artifacts and stuff, and also has a
I love it.
funhouse mirror set up.
I I know it's ridiculous. I still love that. It's such like a Scooby Doo thing to do. It just feels like old style storytelling. Like no one would ever do that in like a modern thing, and I just thought it was super fun, as silly as it
It's
is.
funny you say that because John Wick did something extremely similar
They do have
not
that
that long
mirror
ago.
scene in John Wick. That's true, but I think they pulled that off in a very different way.
They did, but yeah, it also gives them the chance to do like the classic noir shots with like the broken, shattered glass, where you
Yeah.
see like the reflection 30 times. But eventually, she finds him and shoots him and kills him, and then
Which was like I wasn't sure, if she was gonna do it or not. Because I mean, Silverman Brendan does such a wonderful job in this role. He's such a big, big character. It's like if they're gonna do another season, they could just keep him as the big bad. So I was a little surprised,
they've
but
got they've got so many Spider-Man villains they could choose from, and
oh, I know, but he
to
could
think
have
of
been
how
the
great
noir
think of how
kingpin.
great Mr. Negative would be in a black and white noir
Wow.
show. That would be
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
I
Um,
know. I just thought he could be the kingpin of this.
you could have the Kingpin be the Kingpin.
But I like the idea of it being somebody else, and Brendan just did a really good job.
He was great, but other people will do equally well, I'm sure. I think that storyline needed to end.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah, so we get this big fight out in the street now, and we see his strength has really come back because at one point he webs up two cars and slams them together. And actually, this is the first time we see Sandman really be Sandman. And like
Yeah.
he gets smashed into and just explodes into sand.
Hmm.
And the spider thinks he's done, but then he starts reforming. Um, but yeah, we get we see Cat show up while the spider's about he's getting his ass kicked, and she points the gun at Megawatt, who's kind of going crazy with power at this point, and she
Yeah,
pulls the
the crowd
trigger.
is turning against him.
Yeah, and she pulls the trigger and is out of bullets because she fired probably 100 bullets before this. I don't know how many bullets that gun holds, but it was a lot.
It was a lot. I had the same thought. I was like, there was a moment where I was like, oh, she's going to go to shoot Silvermane and she's going to be out of bullets. Right.
No.
But they do it in the next scene. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
But then obviously, Flint is in love with Cat, so he's not happy that that Megawatt attacks Cat because he blasts her.
Hmm.
And so then they're fighting. And I thought this whole series, I was thinking, well, if these two guys fight, it's going to be really cool. I'll be curious if they show him turning to glass because,
Yeah.
when you superheat sand, that's what happens. And that's exactly what happens in this. And it was really cool.
Hmm.
I don't know if I don't think they did that in any of the other Spider-Man movies. Um, I think
No, I
maybe
don't think
some pieces turned to glass with like a hobgoblin bomb or something.
maybe individual pieces. Yeah. But not like his whole arm or anything
Yeah.
like
And he
that,
like
like we
almost
see
turning his
here.
head into glass. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you get this kind of fight scene between them, and at one point, like he goes to punch him, and his arm just like shatters into
Hmm.
pieces. But then Spider-Man, flips him and throws him into a train. The Megawatt guy, and he gets exploded, and the crowd cheers. And
I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. I thought maybe he would inject Dirk and then Flint would have to, die essentially, but Dirk would be neutralized and then thrown in jail kind of thing. I wasn't sure which way they were going to go with that. So when he throws him, he just gets completely exploded. I was a little surprised,
I
but
liked it.
you know,
Because I mean, I don't think there's any coming back for Flint from where he was at this point. Sand doesn't turn back from glass.
well, no, that's why I thought like that's how he
Oh,
dies.
you thought he was gonna be dead.
Yeah,
Well,
like or
okay, so
dying, like dying at the end of the movie or
remember when
show.
it was like Lonnie got stabbed in the eye, and it was like his eye was perfectly fine. It's like forget about that, don't worry about it. Well, in this, his whole hand and everything got shattered while it was glass, and then he gets
Hmm.
stabbed with the antidote, and now he's fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry
yeah.
about it, you know.
I brought it up to Ray, and this the point that she made is certainly true of Spider-Man properties, right? It's really like, Spider-Man's the one who suffers. He's the one who makes the sacrifice. And so they weren't going to have Flint make the sacrifice. It has to be the spider,
I get
you
that,
know?
but and so yeah, you see the spider walking away, and like his mask is ripped. It was very much like Tobey Maguire's, and I think it
Exactly.
had to be an homage to that.
100%.
At
It
the
was
end of I think it
torn
was
in
the
such a
first
similar way.
Spider-Man, yeah, where it
Uh-huh.
looks like you can see his face, but he's walking away and the crowd's cheering for him. And then yeah, so we get at the very end, now the the private dick firm has Janet's last name on it as well. It's Riley and Ruiz, I believe it was.
Perez. Yeah.
But yeah, so she's now a part of it, and they're
Hmm.
talking about like what they're doing, and Lamorne is now the head of the Robbie is now the head of his own newspaper, going against the Daily
Yeah.
Bugle. And all Ben Riley wants is a hot dog, which is funny because throughout the season, it's been hot dogs.
It's just been hot dogs.
Yeah, like that's the only thing you ever see him eat is hot
Hmm.
dogs. He drinks
But I
alcohol
think
and he eats hot dogs.
I think it goes back to the movie theater thing where like he spent so much time watching these movies over and over again to figure out how to be human again. What's the only food that they had at a movie theater? They had hot dogs and popcorn,
It's true.
right? That's what he lived off of. And I think that's just for him what feels comfortable. But it goes to show you, because I think it's Janet who says, she's like, and you, what does the spider get? And he's like, I just want a hot dog. Because everybody kind of, all the good people, that is, come out on top. Kat and Flint get to run off together. Janet gets, a promotion. Robbie gets his own newspaper, right? The city is saved, and the mayor wins re-election, and all these things. And the spider doesn't get anything.
Yeah, he
You
gets a hot
know,
dog.
he doesn't even get to quote unquote be cured because there's nothing left.
It's
They
true.
used, they used the last syringe on Flint, so he's back as the spider, but with a new lease on life. Right, everything's happier and more positive. He's now broken free of his guilt. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Web slinging into the future.
So something fun we normally do on the podcast is that we go through reviews and look at some 10-star reviews and look at some 1-star reviews. So you think we should do that for this?
How are you doing it for the show as a whole or for like individual
Yes, for
episodes?
the whole
Okay,
show.
okay.
What do you want to read? What do you want to hear first? The 1 out of 10s or 10 out of 10s?
Um, let's do the 1 out of 10s first, so we can like talk about how wrong they are, and then we'll end
Yeah.
on a high note.
Okay. I'm not going to do a bunch here, but we'll do a few. Um, so from Capybara Critic, he says the story is just really boring and there's too much filler with no action. There's a full-length song for like 5 minutes with just the lady singing. Besides Nicolas Cage, the actors don't have any charisma. It has the personality of a daytime soap opera with worse actors. Script and casting is 1 out of 10. Visual effects are good, just wish it wasn't so boring.
The actors didn't have charisma. You want to tell me that Abraham Papula has no charisma? Are you nuts?
Let's see here.
Okay.
From T. Kenzo says, I really enjoyed the beginning of Spider-Man Noir. It had a strong tone, compelling setup, and kept me interested right away. Unfortunately, the show started to lose me after Cap betrayed him. I could have accepted that storyline if the characters had gone their separate ways or if the betrayal had led to some meaningful emotional fallout. But after everything he went through, including being tortured, his first major reaction was to get drunk, which felt believable enough. What bothered me more was how quickly he forgave Kat after she nearly got him killed for another man. Even more frustrating was what happened next. Instead of holding any real boundaries, Spider-Man goes out of his way to heal her lover and help make their dream come true. To me, that did not feel like a realistic human reaction. It also highlighted a bigger issue I have with Spider-Man in general. He's often written as so forgiving and selfless that it starts to feel unrealistic rather than heroic. Overall, I thought the show had a lot of potential, but the character decisions in the second half really weakened it for me.
So you just don't like Spider-Man.
That's what it sounds
Uh,
like.
I think that's the answer. Just don't watch Spider-Man stuff. That's what Spider-Man is supposed to do. Peter Parker must suffer. Like that's kind of what he's created for.
Here's a good one. Great Disciple of Slanesh says Spider-Noir is about Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. He's the same character in every movie, just like Zendaya or Jenna Ortega play the same character in all their movies. This is another slop superhero
Okay.
show. People are praising it because they turn off their brain and watching it for the action.
So I love when this happens. One of the 1 stars says there's no action, and the other one says you're only watching it for the action. That's how you know everyone's really understanding what's going on here.
So for the 10 out of 10s, I'm going to be honest with you, they are people are wordy. They
Okay.
really like this. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I do think a lot of what this person said was good. Satoru Jojo shout out. I don't know about you, but I've been waiting for a superhero show that doesn't feel like it was written by a spreadsheet and approved by a focus group. We needed something gritty. We needed something weird. We needed something that smells like cheap cigarettes and existential dread, and we got it. Spider-Noir isn't just good. It's a vibrant, bloody, hilarious miracle of television that proves the only thing more powerful than spider senses is a man absolutely committed to chewing the scenery. He goes on that level of writing for a while.
Okay.
Um, it says, in conclusion, Spider Noir is an certainly brilliantly absurd concoction. It's a miracle that all of this works so well together. It's a fresh and original entertainment for fans of Spidey, film noir, and especially Cage is most over the top. I don't think it's his most over the top, but it's definitely probably top 25%. It's the best Marvel streaming show in years. I'd probably agree with that. So do yourself a favor, stop reading this and go watch it. You'll thank me when you're laughing through tears and questioning your entire existence in the best way possible.
Yeah. Uh,
Here's a short one from Cap Bep. Spider Noir gives wonderful homage to the classic films noir. Direction, photography, and sets take you to back to the greats that set the standards in the past. I was exceptionally impressed with the quality of the art brought to the show. This smokes the recent products from the current industry, low quality products like the Mandalorian movie. The creative power of this show is impressive.
yeah.
And then one more here, more Cage focused. Uh,
Okay.
this is a comfort show that you could easily watch and enjoy its noir world, just like the old black and white movies, with strong performances from all actors, especially Cage, who I don't think had this much fun acting since National Treasure. A little bit disagree there, but it was good in National Treasure. Yeah, he did a lot of incredible work like Pig, Mandy, but I'm not talking about the actor, but the fun movie star from the 90s. That's the Cage you get with enough elements of Spider-Man to satisfy its fans. I think he probably had a lot of fun on Mandy, and maybe not fun on Pig, but I think he overall enjoyed what he got to do with it.
Well, you think he didn't have fun on Unbearable Weight,
And he had probably a lot of fun on Unbearable Weight too, yeah. But
right?
yes,
Like,
I mean I get what they mean. This is like all the elements like we talked about that Nick Cage wants in a project,
yeah.
right there for him. So yeah, that's the general reviews. I know we're not going to put this on our
Cage
wallow
meter.
yeah, a Keijo meter. But if you had to rate this,
Yeah.
it's a little unfair because he gets almost, like 6.5 hours uh of character progression, but it's fun to just, kind of have thought experiment. What would you where would you put this, do you think?
Pretty freaking high. It is hard because it is, yeah, it's almost 8 hours, 7 hours, whatever it ends up being, of content. And, can you compare that to a 1.5 to a 2 hour movie is not really fair. But he's spectacular in this. Anybody who says
Would
he's
you
the
say
same in every
amazing?
movie. Yeah, he was amazing.
Amazing Spider-Man?
Yeah, I got it. He was amazing. He
Okay,
was fantastic.
got it.
Sensational.
Nailed
Um,
it.
yeah. Anyway, no, but the truth is, like, the people who say the things if he's the same in every movie, you're clearly not watching his movies because he's very different in a lot of different movies. He's
Right.
never been like this. He was channeling the type of actors and characters that don't exist anymore and didn't really exist in our lifetime. You
Yeah.
know, he's channeling Casablanca in this movie. He's never, or this show. He's never done anything like this before. This has kind of like it's the perfect project for him. It's kind of the perfect project for me to watch. It has pretty much everything I like in it as well. I'm a sucker for old cinema. I'm a sucker for practical effects and interesting technical shots, and I'm a sucker for just noir style in general. I love all of it. And so for me, this is going to be very high in the moment because I'm so excited about it and I just want to keep talking about it. I want to throw it up there and give it a 20 because we do a 20-point scale on our show because he's been in over 120 things. We spread stuff out a bit. So it's 1 to 20 instead of 1 to 10. I gave Pig a 20. It's the only 20 I've given out in 100 movies that we've watched. This is the only other thing that I would consider giving a 20. Now, talk to me in a couple of weeks. Maybe it's an 18, 19. I don't know. I'm really jazzed about it. So that's where I stand is I today I would have to give it a 20 because of how much I loved it.
I loved it too, but I wouldn't go that high with it. I was thinking like 16 to 17. I mean, it's very
Really?
good. It's very good. But you have to take away a little bit because it gets 8 hours of development. Whereas, look at
Yeah.
Pig. He managed
Yeah.
to sell that character in that short time period of that movie. And the
100%.
the highs and the lows of Pig are higher and lower than this movie. You know what I mean? Or this show. And that's not, I mean, it is a different type of property. It's a
Yeah.
drama. This was not a drama. So, I get that. But I think that this was a very good show. And I agree that that is in terms of Marvel shows. I actually watch all the Marvel shows. Derek's a little bit behind, but I watch, I've watched everything up to this point. That's
Hmm.
actually like Marvel produced. I didn't finish. What was that weird one with Aubrey Plaza? And it was like the Professor Legion. I didn't finish that. I did watch like a season or two of that. But all
Aubrey
the
Plaza was in
actual
Legion
yes.
because she was
Um,
in Agatha.
no, she was in Legion too, way before that.
Really?
Uh,
Wow, I missed
she
Legion.
was very
So,
good in it too. From the bit I saw, she was very good. It just got a little off the rails for me, but
hmm.
but yeah, I've watched every Marvel production, and this is definitely in the top percentage of it. It's up there with like Daredevil, Born Again, and WandaVision. Um, definitely. So yeah, I think it's very good. I hope that they continue with this character, even if they don't do a season 2 of this show. I hope that they find some way to incorporate this character in other formats. Give him a cameo in Secret Wars for sure.
Hmm.
Let him meet Ghost Rider, please.
Well, I mean, some version of this character is supposed to show up in the next Spider-Verse. Um, I don't know if it's the same one from this show versus the other movie or whatever, but so he's supposed to be back. They've been talking about doing more seasons of this, and based on how well it's been received, I'd be a little surprised if they don't do it now.
Well, but also you have to think like, can they top this season? It's the same reason why, like, when somebody has a really good hit movie, they don't always want to do a sequel to it, and then somebody else has to come in and direct the sequel that the studio wants because they did what they want to do. And
Yeah, I mean,
then can they
that's
pass
fair.
this? If they can't do it better, why do it at all? And Nick
Yeah,
definitely seems like he's open to it, but he also has said that he feels like they told the story they wanted to tell.
right.
you know.
I mean,
So I
I
don't
think
know.
that's fair.
I'd be excited if they said they're going to do a season two. I'd be surprised if they didn't do a season two, but I would also understand that, this as a self-contained story is great.
Right. No, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. It would be hard to top this. You'd have to bring in a whole new cast of villains, of course, and explain all where they get their powers, if any of them have powers, and you can't probably lean on the same crutch that you did for this one because that would be a little far fetched at
And
this
being that
point.
it's
So
Sony, there's a good chance they ruin it because, I hate to say it, but Sony does not have the best track record. And a lot of people going into this show were not convinced it was going to be good. They thought it was going to be a car wreck you couldn't look away from because Sony's in charge. But you look at like Morbius, you look at like Craven, Madam Web.
yeah,
These things are all really bad spider adjacent stuff. And I'd be worried that they'd be
yeah,
trying to cram like a cameos to set something else up because they know Nick Cage is, if they get Nick Cage for another season, he's not going to do 5 seasons of this show. No
right.
matter how much he loves the character, he's getting older. He's a guy that likes to do he likes to do different stuff. And he's
Hmm.
done this now. So maybe we'll get a second season. I don't think we'll get more than that. So they'll be trying to set up a spin-off, and introduce these other characters probably. And if they can do it well, then I guess. But after some other like stuff on Amazon recently, namely The Boys and things like that, I don't have a lot of faith that they would do it in a way that's respectful to what we just watched.
I mean, I think that's completely reasonable. It is kind of frustrating because you'd hope that Sony would be smart enough to be like, hey, everybody who worked on season one, if you want to, do a second season, we'll back you on that and let you do your thing. But that's not how it usually
No,
goes, and that
they
that
want to
is
set up seven
frustrating.
different spin-offs. I mean, this is a multiverse, right? Like
Right.
they
Yeah.
they're gonna just yeah, they're just gonna try and milk that. I have a feeling since this is their one property that came out that was successful and widely
Hmm.
well received. I'm worried about what they will try to do with season two.
It's a fair concern. Of all the Spider stuff that Sony has done, obviously the two Into the Spider-Verse movies were very, very successful and incredibly good. You have this. That's been it for a while,
Yeah.
some of the Venom stuff's been fun, but they're not like amazing movies or anything. They're fun because Tom Hardy is a really good actor,
Yeah.
and he can pull off that role. But I mean, Sony's had a tough time with Spider-Man for a while. The two Amazing Spider-Man movies were not super well received. Spider-Man 3 obviously was a train wreck. First two were incredible, but that's about it.
Yeah, but that's the last success they had in live action was, those two.
Yeah, yeah, which was
So
a while
yeah,
ago.
yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this and have some opinions on any of that, if you watched the last season of The Boys and realized what they were trying to set up for spin-offs and that, and you think that they're going to do that with this show and you agree with me, let us know. Hit us up. We're on social media. Obviously Derek is pumped about this show and he's the one that handles most of our social media. So,
Yeah.
throw some comments our way or go to our subreddit and talk about it. We'd love to discuss this with you guys because obviously we both really enjoyed this show. So yeah, check us out. And this has been fun to talk about. I hope that we get a season two that's actually good that we can talk about and we're not, disappointed, but we'll see what the future holds, I suppose.
Yeah, well, we will see. And we're back to normal next. So, for all of you who've been joining us for this, if this is new and you're joining us to the show, we're the Coming of Cage podcast. You go to comingofcage.com for all the links that Ryan just talked about. You can subscribe in your podcast app of choice. You can watch us on the Derrico Studios YouTube channel. And we'll be going back to Nicolas Cage movies, back to our every other week format. So, you gotta watch the Wheel O Cage to find out what Nicolas Cage movie we are reviewing next time on the show. That's it for our special back-to-back weeks of Spider-Noir. Ryan, anything else?
Nope, I think we covered it, but yeah, I'm glad the show exists. I really am.
Same, man, same. All right, well, thank you to everybody who joined us for this. We really appreciate it. We hope you will check out more of our Nicolas Cage conversations. I'm Derek, that's Ryan.
We'll see you next noir.